Japan Post stops forcing delivery staff to ride bicycles as punishment. France's postal service rolls out croissants scented stamp. In the US, lawyer caught using AI while explaining to court why he used AI. Japan Post stops forcing delivery staff to ride bicycles as punishment. France's postal service rolls out croissants scented stamp. In the US, lawyer caught using AI while explaining to court why he used AI.
Amazon's DNS problem knocked out half the web, likely costing billions. Jaguar Land Rover cyberattack nears £2 billion in UK's costliest hack. In the US, FCC cracks down on Chinese electronics, as US retailers remove millions of devices over national security concerns. China bans research company that helped unearth Huawei's use of TSMC tech despite US bans. Tech insights added to unreliable entity lists by state authorities. Jensen Huang says Nvidia went from 95% market share in China to 0%. I can't imagine any policymaker thinking that that's a good idea. Braving Trump. Apple's Tim Cook promises to boost China investment.
France and Spain call on EU to uphold 2035 combustion engine ban. Fossil fuels to dominate global energy use past 2050, McKinsey says. Plug-in hybrids pollute almost as much as petrol cars, report finds. In the UK, government told to prepare for 2C warming by 2050. Coral die-off marks Earth's first climate tipping point, scientists say. China's wind firms aim to double new turbine installations over next 5 years.
USA's DOJ, chairman of Prince Group indicted for operating Cambodian forced labor scam compounds engaged in cryptocurrency fraud schemes, and Department of Justice files largest ever forfeiture action against approximately $15 billion in Bitcoin currently in U.S. custody. In France, thieves steal treasured jewelry from Louvre in 7-minute daylight heist.
China's Commerce Ministry switches official document attachments to homegrown WPS format, sparking heated online discussions. Financial Times comments as, Trump's tariffs hand surprise win to London Metal Exchange over New York rival. Financial Times comments as, China is well positioned for a trade showdown with Trump, as reportedly China imports no U.S. soybeans in September for first time in 7 years. Previously, Trump says threatened tariffs on China, not sustainable. The Pope urges vigilance about who controls AI. Reportedly, independent newspapers disappear as private investment firms take over. Almost 70% of U.S. adults would be deemed obese based on new definition, study finds.
New York Times report that Trump said to demand Justice Department pay him $230 million for past cases, and Trump refiles his $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. Harvard FAS cuts Ph.D. seats by more than half across next 2 admission cycles. TMZ stands by story after White House denial, Trump considering commuting Diddy's sentence, possibly this week. Previously, White House official pushes back on report that Trump is considering pardoning Sean Diddy Combs. Santos is released after Trump commutes his sentence. Bloomberg comments as, Germany's MERS leans into far-right messaging to counter AfD. Washington Post reports that Trump refugee plan seeks 7,000 Afrikaners, and virtually no one else. Netherlands curtails intelligence sharing with U.S. over human rights.
French ex-President Sarkozy begins jail sentence for campaign finance conspiracy. Prince Andrew gives up his Duke of York title as Epstein allegations refuse to fade. Also U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered to explain Ghislaine Maxwell prison move. 2 months ago, Epstein victims claim cover-up as Maxwell moved to low-security prison.
It has been reported as EU closes in on deal to use Russian frozen assets to fund Ukraine, and European leaders back Ukraine's ceasefire proposal at current contact line. Bloomberg comments as, Trump casts new doubt on Ukraine's ability to defeat Russia, as Donald Trump urged Volodymyr Zelensky to accept Putin's terms or be destroyed by Russia. Reportedly, Trump rejects Zelensky on Tomahawk missiles in tough meeting, and after Zelensky meeting, Trump calls on Ukraine and Russia to stop where they are and end the war.
Trump reposts AI-generated video of plane dumping sludge on No Kings protesters. Previously, Trump posts wild AI video showing him flying fighter jet, dropping sewage on No Kings protesters as, I'm not a king. Trump says ahead of nationwide No Kings protests. The White House joins Blue Sky and instantly becomes the second most.
The White House announces fact sheet. President Donald J. Trump closes billion-dollar deals with Australia, including a gallium refinery. Financial Times reports that Saudi Arabia in talks for U.S. defense pact. Financial Times reports that U.S. Army taps private equity groups to help fund $150 billion revamp.
Rubio states that U.S.-Pakistan relations are not detrimental to India. Trump endorses a ceasefire deal between Thailand and Cambodia in Malaysia. Trump discloses his direct role in Israel's pager attack on Hezbollah.
SCMP previously noted peace-loving Japan to relax weapons export regulations due to escalating security concerns. 10 days ago it was reported that Japan is considering exporting destroyers to Southeast Asia despite facing legal challenges. The Philippines is negotiating to purchase additional South Korean fighter jets, according to the aircraft manufacturer. East Timor has become a member of ASEAN, marking the bloc's first expansion since the 1990s.
In the Nexperia crisis, a Sino-Dutch conflict over the chipmaker threatens the car industry's supply chain, with Nexperia's parent company Wingitech citing cash flow risk, despite a 280% increase in quarterly profit. Previously, Bosch also warned of production risks due to the Nexperia dispute affecting auto suppliers. Meanwhile, Samsung and SK Hynix are reportedly raising memory prices by up to 30%, with long-term supply agreements being considered.
OpenAI has asked for a list of attendees at a memorial in a lawsuit related to a suicide involving ChatGPT. An Amazon Web Services (AWS) outage led to $2,000 smart beds overheating and becoming stuck in an upright position. A student in the United States was handcuffed after an artificial intelligence system mistakenly identified a bag of chips as a firearm. Trump grants pardon to former Binance CEO following guilty plea for allowing cybercrime funds to pass through the platform. Trump nominates crypto regulator Mike Selig as the new chair of the CFTC. The creators of Melania Trump's meme coin face allegations of pump and dump fraud in a lawsuit. Mosquitoes have been discovered in Iceland for the first time due to the warming climate, and the UN chief states that surpassing the 1.5°C climate target is inevitable. Additionally, the accused fentanyl kingpin, sought by both the US and Mexico, has been apprehended in Cuba several months after fleeing house arrest.
Trump considers government oversight of quantum computing companies through agreements similar to those with Intel. Russia deploys sonar technology allegedly taken from the West to protect its nuclear submarines from NATO, having obtained Western technology to safeguard its nuclear submarine fleet. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump advocates for the development of new Navy warship classes.
Apollo claims AI energy disparity will remain unresolved in our lifetime. Worldwide coal consumption reached an unprecedented peak in 2024. EA collaborates with Stability AI to accelerate 3D game design and content production.
During the COVID pandemic, inefficient IT systems resulted in a financial loss of at least $40 billion for the United States, according to a study. Air traffic controller shortages led to the suspension of flights at Los Angeles International Airport. HSBC plans to allocate $1.1 billion for possible settlements in lawsuits related to the Madoff fraud.
U.S.-China discussions outline potential agreements on rare earths and a tariff pause for consideration by Trump and Xi, with Besson stating that a framework has been reached in tariff negotiations. Rolling Stone notes Scott Besson's comments expressing empathy for soybean farmers, despite his $500 million wealth, while Axios reports Besson, a farm owner, stating, "I have felt this pain too regarding the soybean crisis." Lula expresses optimism about a U.S.-Brazil trade deal following a meeting with Trump in Malaysia. The United States imposes sanctions on the Colombian president due to accusations of not preventing cartel activities. Meanwhile, Trump is reportedly considering targeting cocaine production sites within Venezuela and has stated he will not seek approval for strikes against cartels. Venezuela criticizes what it calls a military provocation by the CIA in Trinidad and Tobago. Additionally, the U.S. has deployed an aircraft carrier to Latin America, marking a significant escalation. The Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. has sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela, increasing military pressure. 5 days ago, the U.S. conducted strikes on 2 more suspected drug vessels on the Pacific side, resulting in the deaths of 5 individuals.
RFK Jr. to encourage Americans to consume more saturated fats, causing concern among health professionals. US claims Trump has a strategy to substitute Obamacare but provides no details. In the U.S., the average expense for a family health insurance plan is now almost $27,000. Trump asserts he has the ultimate authority over compensating himself, $230 million for previous investigations.
The Financial Times reports that the sanctions imposed by Trump on Russian oil have impacted the imports of India and China, following the U.S. sanctions targeting Russia's Rosneft and Lukoil. Meanwhile, Putin acknowledges that the U.S. sanctions are serious but insists they will not deter Russia from continuing the war. Additionally, Russia has conducted a test of a new missile capable of carrying nuclear weapons, as confirmed by Putin and a top general. The NATO chief supports Trump's decision to withhold Tomahawks, while Finland urges Trump to allow Zelensky to use Tomahawks against Russia. Axios reports that Zelensky is urging Trump to complement the Russia sanctions with missile support.
Trump has stated that he has no intention of naming the White House ballroom after himself, with reports indicating that there are 37 donors contributing to the $300 million construction project, including prominent Silicon Valley technology companies, cryptocurrency enthusiasts, and the Lutnick family. California Governor Gavin Newsom is contemplating a run for the U.S. presidency in 2028, as he has expressed his intention to consider such a candidacy following the midterm elections. Vice President Kamala Harris has indicated the possibility of running for president once more, telling the BBC, "I am not done," suggesting her potential interest in seeking the presidency again.
In the United States, senators have introduced legislation aimed at prohibiting AI chatbot companions for individuals under the age of 18. Character.ai has decided to prevent children under 18 from accessing its chatbot services. OpenAI reports that more than 1 million individuals weekly discuss suicide with ChatGPT.
Harvard acknowledges it has awarded an excessive number of A grades to its students. J.D. Vance stands by his statement expressing a desire for his wife Usha to convert to Christianity, following previous outrage in India over his wish for his Hindu wife to become a Christian. China's President Xi Jinping humorously refers to a backdoor when presenting South Korea's President Lee with Xiaomi phones. South Korea's President Yoon allegedly intended to apprehend and eliminate his political adversaries, according to court reports. Bloomberg states that Italian Prime Minister Meloni is considering revising the country's voting regulations to support her re-election. Tanzanian President Hassan has been declared the victor of a contested election, securing 98% of the votes.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin's summit in Budapest has been cancelled due to a memo from Moscow. Trump has ordered the resumption of nuclear weapons testing for the first time in over 3 decades, and according to Reuters, Russia deployed a missile in Ukraine that prompted Trump to withdraw from a nuclear treaty, as reported by Kyiv. The Atlantic reports that senior Trump officials are relocating to military bases. The Trump administration is reportedly planning a new mission in Mexico targeting cartels, according to current and former U.S. officials, as Trump prepares U.S. troops for a potential ground invasion in Mexico to combat drug cartels. Additionally, the Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. is considering strikes on Venezuelan military targets involved in drug trafficking, although Trump has stated he is not contemplating strikes within Venezuela. Trump has also mentioned that while a war with Venezuela is unlikely, he believes Maduro's time is nearing an end.
Jihadi fighters linked to al-Qaeda advance towards Mali's capital amid escalating instability in the Sahel region. Former President Trump issues a warning of potential U.S. military intervention in Nigeria due to the treatment of Christians, stating he might enter Nigeria with force if the violence against Christians continues. In response, Nigeria asserts that any U.S. assistance against Islamist insurgents must honor its sovereignty and declines the U.S. military threat concerning the reported killings of Christians. Dick Cheney, the former U.S. vice president and a key figure in the planning of the Iraq War, passes away at the age of 84.
The White House has excluded the Atlantic from consideration for oil leases following political criticism. The United States is accused of intimidating EU diplomats in its efforts to eliminate green shipping regulations. Universal Music Group and AI music company Udio resolve their legal dispute and unveil a new music platform. NVIDIA and Oracle are set to construct the U.S. Department of Energy's most extensive AI supercomputer aimed at advancing scientific research. Kodak has discreetly resumed the direct sale of Kodak Gold and Ultramax film.